Hello, this is Mr. Henry, and welcome to lesson 2.6. Today we are talking about dividing our real numbers. So again, fractions, decimals, positives, negatives, everything in between. Okay. The first couple get the goofs we have here are dealing with the distributive property, which we learned in the very last lesson. So let's see how we did. In the distributive property, we drew the rainbows. Rainbows, there we go. Weren't working for a second there. And negative 4 times negative 3 would be a positive 12. And negative 4 times positive 6, ooh, that one's way wrong, would be a negative 24. Why? Number 2, let's see, we'd get this times that is an 18y squared, so that first part's good. 9y plus or times 8 is 72y. That's good. So this first step is correct. Then combining like terms, we could combine these two together because they both have y. This guy has y squared, so he cannot be combined together, and that is where the mistake happened. So the new next line would be 18y squared plus 69y, because these two guys have different signs, so you would subtract them and keep the sign of the bigger number, and the 18y squared comes along for the ride. Number 3, 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times negative 3y is negative 9y. 3 times 5r is 15r, not 5r, 15r. Nothing can be combined together, so that would be done. And the last thing here is one practice problem of multiplication of fractions. If you remember, when you multiply fractions, you multiply straight across. So 1 times 6 is 6. 3 times 7 is 21. And the only thing they forgot to do is simplify. You can divide top and bottom by 3, and you get 2 over 7. Okay, so we got a couple little vocab words here. Actually, all of them are pretty much old words. Words you should know. The multiplicative inverse is the reciprocal of a non-zero number. And you go, okay, what the heck is a reciprocal? A reciprocal is the upside down form of a number. So when you take a number or a fraction like 3/5, and then you flip it upside down. So the top goes here, the bottom goes there, and it goes to 5/3. This is a reciprocal. If you have a whole number like 2, the reciprocal of that is first you would write it as a fraction, boom, boom, then flip it. That's the reciprocal. And the last word here is mean, and that is the average of a set of numbers. And we've done mean for a couple years now. The mean means that you take all the numbers you have, all the data you have, you add it together, and then you divide by the number of data points, the number of numbers. Okay? And that's mean. That's the typical average. So if you find like your average grade, you add up all your grades and divide by how many grades you had. And the other thing in our vocabulary box is the integer rules. If you could take a second or so and fill these out to the best of your knowledge, you should be able to fill out everything. So when we are adding, if the signs are the same, you add. If the signs are different, you subtract. And you keep the sign of the bigger number. Keep the sign of the bigger number. That's the rule for adding. When you're multiplying or dividing, if the signs are the same, you get a positive number. If the signs are different, you get a negative. And then the rule for subtraction was you do the KFC thing, and you change it into addition, and you follow the addition rules. Okay, so let's start off easy by just practicing this multiplicative inverse, this reciprocal. So if you have any number, and if it's not a fraction, turn it into a fraction. Now it's a fraction. And we flip it, so this becomes 1/3. That is the reciprocal. That's the multiplicative inverse. Okay, -3/4. Now that is a fraction, so now we just flip it. 4 goes on top, 3 goes on the bottom. Don't forget your negative. Boom. Multiplicative inverse done. Most people never call it this. Most people call it a reciprocal. Reciprocal. Letter C. 1/5. Find the reciprocal. 5/1. Boom. So you literally just take the number you have. If it's not a fraction, turn it into a fraction. Then you flip the fraction upside down, and you're done. This guy could be simplified a little bit better to just 5, but 5/1 is not wrong either. Please do letters D and E right now. Pause the video, do them on your own. When you're ready to continue, hit play. Okay, so letter D. 9/7, you flip it, you get 7/9. Letter E, we're going to turn that thing into a fraction, then flip it, and we're done. That is a reciprocal. That's going to be used when we're dividing fractions. It's also going to be used for a couple other topics later on in the year. But for now, dividing fractions is when it's used. So, we want to find the quotient, which means divide. That's the answer to a division problem. So let's do it. We want to take -6 divided by 3/6. All right. So here's how this works. When you're dividing fractions, the first thing you want to do is get fractions. This is not a fraction. Now it's a fraction. Again, any whole number, to turn it into a fraction, you put it over 1. So now we have a fraction. The rule for dividing fractions, if you want to write this down someplace, is, so the way you divide fractions, flip the second, then multiply. So you flip the second number, you do the reciprocal of it, and then you multiply. So let's do that. So this is going to become -6/1. You flip this upside down. That's the reciprocal of this. And then you change it to multiplication. And now you follow the multiply rules. You multiply across the top, you multiply across the bottom, simplify your answer. So across the top we get -36. Across the bottom you get 3. And -36 divided by 3 is a -12. And we're done. Okay, let's check this one. So if you don't have fractions, make fractions. Flip the second one and multiply. So this is going to be 4/7. We're going to flip this to 4/1. Then we change it to multiply. And we get 20. No, I lied. 4 times 4 is 16. Over 7. I messed up again. Hopefully you saw my mess up and you stopped. I forgot to flip this. I said I flipped it, and I didn't. That's what we get when we flip it. 4 goes on the bottom, 1 goes on the top. There we go. So 1 times 4 is 4. 4 times 7 is 28. Now when we simplify, we can divide top and bottom by 4, and we get 1/7. Letter C. Now here we don't have fractions, but you don't need fractions. I'm not saying you have to have fractions in every single problem. Use your brains here. 24 divided by 6. We can do that without fractions. We know 24 divided by 6 is 4. And the rules say because our signs are the same, the answer is positive. So we just get positive 4. There's no need to make the problem more complicated. Just do it easy. Please try letters D and E right now. Okay, so if you haven't done, you should do. Let's see. I'm going to flip the second one. Let's make sure I actually flip it this time. Good, good. All right. First one stays the same. Change it to multiply. Multiply across the top. Multiply across the bottom. Don't forget your negative. Simplify. Let's see. 6 goes into 40 6 times, because 6 times 6 is 36. And I need to add 4 more to get to 40. Don't forget your negative, because the signs are different. The answer is going to be negative. And then we can simplify the fraction part just a little bit into 2/3. Divide top and bottom by 2. You get 2/3. So we flip the second fraction. We multiplied across the top, multiplied across the bottom, and got a negative 40 over 6. It's negative because the signs were different. Positive, negative. We then said, okay, 6 goes into 40 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. So you have to add 4 more to get to 40. So that's our mixed number. And then we simplified the mixed number by dividing the fraction top and bottom by 2. And that's our final answer. Letter E. Well, we don't have a fraction here, so let's make it a fraction. We're going to flip the second one, this 3/5, so it becomes 4 over 1 times by 5 over 3. Multiply, giving us 20 over 3. And I'm going to leave it as a fraction for now, because I still have to divide by this other guy, this negative 1/2. So let's give me some more space. Yeah. Now we flip the second one, because it's a division. We're going to flip the second fraction and change it to multiply. And then we multiply across the top, negative 40. Multiply across the bottom, 3. And then simplify this. Let's see. 3 goes into 40 more than 10 times, because 10 times 3 is 30. 3 more times would be 39, which is pretty good. So 13 times 3, the denominator stays the same, so that's the 3. So 13 times 3 is 39. Add 1 more to get to 40, and our answer is negative. And again, the answer is negative because the signs were different. Here the signs were the same, positive. Here the signs are different, negative. So the answer is a negative. All right. Here are 8 problems from the textbook from page 104, numbers 1 through 8. Go ahead and try them now. The first 4, you're finding the multiplicative inverse, or the reciprocal. And the next 4, you're actually doing the division. Pause the video, do them on your own right now. When you're ready to continue, hit play, and we'll go through them together. Okay. Hopefully you did, so let's do. I'm going to do 1 through 4 here, and then erase them to do 5 through 8. So number 1, the reciprocal of that would be a 1 over negative 27, because you'd write it as a fraction and then flip it. Number 2 would be a 1 over negative 8, same deal. Put it over 1, so now it's a fraction, and then flip it. Number 3, you would flip it, so it would be negative 7 over 4. And number 4, negative 3 over 1. So those were all Pretty simple. And then I'm going to erase them to do 5 through 8 right there. Alright, number 5. I don't need fractions, so let's just divide like normal. 64 divided by 4 is 16. The signs are the same. The answer's positive. Done. In fact, that's the only one without fractions, so that was the easy one. Alright, number 6. 3 over 8. Flip the second one, and now multiply. That's going to give us a 30. 3 times 10 is 30 over 24, which, let's simplify this first before we change it to a mixed number. Top and bottom here can be divided by 6. That divides by 6 gives us 5. This divided by 6 gives us 4. And now that 4 goes into 5 one time, remainder of 1, and I do not want to lose track of my negative that should be there because the signs are different. The answer should be a negative. So let me see, can I move him? Not really. So let's erase him. Put him down here. Negative 1 and 1/4. It is a negative, folks, because the signs are different. The answer is negative. Number 7. You don't have fractions, so make fractions. 18 over 1. Flip the second one. And then multiply. Don't forget your negative. Ooh, golly, that's going to be ugly. 18 times by 9. Let's see. 18 times by 9. 9 times 8 is 72. 9 times 1 is 9. Plus 7 is 16. 162. So negative 162 over 2. Yeah. Okay, how many times does 2 go into 162? Well, or when you divide by 2, you take half of it. What's half of 162? 81. Half of 162 would be 81. And then it's negative because the signs are different. The answer's negative. And if you don't believe me, this 81 thing, the way that you would do this without a calculator, you literally would do your long division. 2 goes into 1 0 times, 2 goes into 16 8 times, 8 times 2 is 16, subtract, bring down. 2 goes into 2 1 time, 2, subtract, nothing else to bring down, 81. Signs are different, negative. Number 8, because you have one fraction, you need to make the other one a fraction. There we go. Flip the second one and multiply. Across the top gives you, he's hard to see, I'll change it to black. Across the top you got a 2. 5 times 18 is, I don't know. So 18 times by 5 is 40, and 5 plus 4 is 9. So you got 90. And a little simplified, they're both even. So I can divide top and bottom by 2. 1 over 45. And that's done. So, oh, and it's negative. Because the signs are different, the answer is a negative. So, in general, with division, you divide like normal. Now, normal with numbers like number 5, you just do the normal division. And then if the signs are the same, the answer is positive. If the signs are different, the answer is negative. When you're dealing with fractions, make sure both numbers are fractions. Then you flip the second fraction upside down. That's the reciprocal. So you take the reciprocal of the second fraction. Then you change it to a multiplication, and you multiply straight across. After you've multiplied straight across, like here, so we multiplied straight across, you can simplify. Then if the top number is bigger than the bottom, you do not want improper fractions as a final answer. We'd rather have a mixed number. So you divide. 4 goes into 5 one time with a remainder of 1. Denominator stays the same. And then just don't forget about your sign. It was a negative. Lots of little steps, lots of little places to make mistakes, but That's what you got to do. Now, the next couple problems are practice finding the mean of a set of numbers. So here it says find the mean of these numbers. Okay, so the way you find a mean is you add up the numbers and then divide by the number of numbers. Okay, so we're going to add 5 plus negative 6 plus 8 plus negative 4 plus a negative 13. Okay. Now, one thing to tell you here is we could absolutely just add straight across. 5 plus negative 6 and then do plus 8 plus negative 4 plus negative 13 and we should get the right answer. Or we could rearrange those numbers because it's all addition and we have that commutative property. We could rearrange them to make it maybe a little bit easier on ourselves. Me personally, I'd rather add all the positives together first and then add all the negatives together and then combine the positive and negative. So if I rearrange it as 5 plus 8 plus, and then my negatives, negative 4 plus negative 6 plus negative 13, then I can do that and then that, and it'll be a little bit easier for me. 5 plus 8 is 13. This negative 4 plus negative 6 is negative 10, plus negative 13 is negative 23. Now my signs are different. I subtract, I get negative 10. So you see that how that might have been a little bit easier. If we would have done it this way, just straight across, this would give us a negative 1, plus 8 is a 7, plus negative 4 is a 3, plus negative 13 is a 10. Negative. So we got the same answer. It's just one way you might find to be a little bit easier than another. Okay, so to find the mean, you add up all of the numbers. We got negative 10. Then you take that answer and divide by the number of numbers. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. So negative 10 divided by 5 is a negative 2. The signs are different. The answer is negative. 10 divided by 5 is 2. And we're done. Letter B. Same deal. It says the change in the value for a stock over a 6-day period is, and it gives us the change. So it had a positive change, negative, negative, positive, positive, negative. What is the average change of the stock price over 6 days? Now again, we could just add up straight across, but it's probably easier to add all the positives together first, all the negatives together second, and then combine the positives and negatives. So I'm going to start right away with that. So I'm going to list all my positives first. So 3.0 plus 3.6 plus 3.2. Those are my positives. Now my negatives. Negative 10.1 plus a negative 1.2 plus a negative 4.2. So positives, negatives. So let's add them up. Because these positives all have the same sign, you literally do just add. So 3.0 plus 3.6 plus 3.2. All right. 9.8. Easy enough. Okay. And now for the negatives. We got 10.1, 1.2. That's not lined up. 1.2. There we go. 4.2. All right. 245.51 negative. Now those two numbers have a different sign. One's positive, one's negative, so we're going to have to subtract them. 5 minus 8 I cannot do, so I borrow 415. That's a 7. Okay. Now, I did see a small mistake before I continue. I saw something wasn't working quite right, paused the video, checked it out. A little mistake I made here is I wrote 3.2 and it should have been 2.3. So if I change this to a 2.3, that's just like a sort of dyslexia, 2.3 there. That's going to give us a different answer here, and it's going to change our subtraction a little bit. So let's fix it. So 3.0, 3.6, 2.3 gives us a 9 and a 6, 8.9. Now, if we do the subtraction, 15.5 divided by 8.9, why am I dividing there? I'm subtracting. Alright, 4, 15, 9, 15 is 6 point, and then 14 minus 8 is 6. Keep this on the bigger number, negative 6.6. This will work out now. Whew. I knew something wasn't working out when I ended in a 7. Okay, so we fixed a little mistake, little typo, fixed our problem. Now, we added up all the numbers, and we need to divide by the number of numbers. Well, it says there are 6 days, so I'm going to take this guy divided by 6. And 6.6 divided by 6, the number part is 1.1. The sign part, the signs are different, so the answer is negative. Okay? So the average change was a negative 1.1 in the stock price, stock value. Okay, we've got letter C here. It says, Andy recorded the low temperature each night at his home during January. Over 5 consecutive nights, he recorded the temperatures, -2, -10, +6, -1, and +2. What was the mean low temperature at his home for these nights? Go ahead, pause the video, do this problem on your own, see if you can find what is the average temperature, low temperature, these nights. Okay, so this problem was really not that bad. So you take your -2 plus -10, I'm again putting the positives and negatives together, plus -1, negatives, and 6 plus 2, positives. This gives me 8. This gives me a -2 plus -10 is -12, plus 1 more is -13. Signs are different. Subtract, -15. No. -5. And so we added them all up, got -5. We divide by the number of numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And -5 divided by 5 is -1. So the average temperature outside was a -1 degrees for those 5 nights. And the last type of example, example 4, we're doing a little bit more of simplifying, making the problems look a little bit easier. Now, first thing to point out, when we're doing our division here, we're going to be taking both parts, both terms, this guy and this guy, divided by the -4. That's how division works. You have to divide everything on the top by the bottom number, not just one piece. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this division first, and then do that division second. So let's do this first. So 24y divided by -4. So divide the number part. 24 divided by -4 is a -6. It's 6 because 24 divided by 4 is 6. It's negative because the signs are different. And then don't forget your y. And then -8 divided by -4. The signs are the same. +2. So you divide this term by the -4 and that term. If there was 4 things up top, you would divide each of them by the -4. It's almost like distributive property, but kind of with division. You divide every term on the top by the bottom number. Now, letter B. You look at that and you go, 5 doesn't divide, or 3 doesn't divide by 5, and 9 doesn't divide by 5, and you're absolutely right. So what we're going to do to make our lives a little bit easier, and this will come up periodically throughout the rest of the school year as we're doing stuff with fractions and dividing and that kind of stuff, is it is okay to have a fraction. for your answer. -3/5. We're just basically, instead of having a division, we're changing it into a fraction, which a fraction is a division, you just don't divide. So we're leaving it as -3/5. That is okay. And then over here, this -9r divided by 5, we can leave it as a -9/5. That's the -9 divided by 5r. And that is a perfectly good answer. This is a little bit easier to work with than this. So we're getting rid of the division bar by simplifying, by dividing if we can, and if we can't divide, if we don't get a nice pretty number, we leave it as a fraction, and that's okay. So letter C. Divide the first piece. 40x divided by 8 is 5x. That's this. That gives us 5x. 32 divided by 8 gives us a positive 4. And that one's done. Here are two problems I'd like you to try, letters D and E. Pause the video, do them on your own right now. When you're ready to continue, hit play, and we'll go through it together. Okay, letter D. Well, let's see. Well, we're going to take this and do this division first. So 12y divided by -4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. The signs are different, so the answer is negative. Don't forget your y. And then this part, -8 divided by -4. The signs are the same, the answer is positive. 8 divided by 4 is 2. Letter E. Well, this does not divide evenly. 18 does not divide by 12 evenly, so we're going to leave it as 18/12. Now, I'm leaving it as a positive because a negative divided by a negative is positive. And the same thing on this side, negative divided by a negative is positive. 21r/12. Now, the only thing we could do to make this a little bit better is to simplify. Because, I mean, here, both of these numbers, this 18 and this 12, can be divided by 6. So why not do that? If we're trying to simplify, let's make it as simple as possible, as small as possible. So if we divide this by 6, we get 3/2. That's simplifying. On this side, we could divide top and bottom by, we could divide by 3. And I think that's actually it. So let's divide top and bottom by 3. And we get 21 divided by 3 is 7r. 12 divided by 3 is 4. This is a bit simpler than that, which is why we do the simplifying of the fractions. Okay? So when you're doing these problems, you divide both terms, or if there's 3 things, all 3 terms on the top by the bottom number. Simplify if possible. If it does not divide evenly, you write it as a fraction, and then simplify your fraction. And in these problems, improper fractions are allowed. You're allowed to have a 9/5. That's okay. So let's finish up here, 9 through 13. These are the last problems for the day. So go ahead, pause the video, do them on your own. When you're ready to continue, hit play, and we will go through them together. Okay, so I'm going to do each problem in this space down below here. So number 9. We're finding the mean, so I'm going to add up the positives, add up the negatives, and then divide. So 4 plus 2.8 positives, -3 plus -1.5 negatives. This gives me 6.8. This gives me -4.5. Again, here, because I'm doing just the positives, the signs are the same. I add. 4 plus 2.8 is 6.8. Here, both numbers are negative, so I add. when you add, make sure you line up your decimals. You get negative 4.5. Now I combine these two, which the signs are different, so I need to subtract. 6.8 minus 4.5. You always put the bigger number on top when subtracting, and that's a 3. Decimals are lined up. That's 2, 2.3. And then you took all the numbers, we added them all up, and then we divide by the number of numbers. 2.3 divided by 4. Let's see. 2.3 divided by 4. 4 does not go into 2. 4 goes into 23 5 times, because 5 times 4 is 20. Subtract. Bring down. 4 goes into 30. 7 times. 7 times 4 is 28. 2, bring down, and 4 goes into 25 times. So 0.575. That is our average, our mean, for number 9. So I added all the numbers up, adding the positives together, adding the negatives together. Then when I did that, I combined both those together, positives plus negatives, and you have to subtract because the signs are different. Took 2.3 divided by 4, and I did my long division over here, and I got 0.575. All right. So now I'm going to erase that to do the next problem, which would be number 10. Number 10 says, find the mean daily temperature, so that's the average, daily temperature in degrees Fahrenheit in Barrow, Alaska for the first 5 days of February 2004. Okay, so it gives us these 5 days, and this is the temperature each day. So we want to find the average of those temperatures. So they're all negative, so I don't have to worry about adding positives and adding negatives. I'm just going to add all my negatives together. So let's see. Number 10. I guess I'll just write it out. Negative 3 plus negative 20 plus negative 21 plus negative 22 plus a negative 18. And it's good to have our parentheses to keep the pluses and the negative signs separate. And if I add that all together, doing a little bit of mental math here, you can write yours out. 20, 40, 60, 70, 83, 84. Negative 84 I got. Let me double check. 20, 40, 60, 70, 84. Yeah, I think I got 84 again. So you add them all up and you get negative 84. Divide it by 5. And negative 84 divided by 5. I don't know that one. Let's do some work. 84 divided by 5. 5 goes into 8 one time. 1 times 5 is 5. Subtract. Bring down. 5 goes into 34. 6 times. 6 times 5 is 30. I need more space. Subtract. Add a decimal. Bring it down. Decimal. 5 goes into 48 times at 40, and there's no remainder, so 16.8 is this division. And the answer will be negative because the signs, it was a negative divided by a positive, so it's a negative 16.8. And it would make sense that the average temperature is a negative because every temperature in the month was negative so far. So it would not make sense that the average of those is a positive number. It would have to be negative, or else the answer would not even make sense. So that's number 10. Add them all up, divide by the number of numbers, do a little bit of long division because we don't have a calculator to use. Good to go. Now we get to the easier ones. Believe it or not, those are the harder ones, or the longer problems. These guys down below are actually the easier ones. Number 11. So 2x minus 8 over negative 4. We're going to do this one. Gives us a negative. We can't actually do do the division. So we leave it as, well, negative 2 over 4x minus, because the signs are different, negative 2. And we can simplify this to negative 1 half x minus 2. Number 12, that gives us a negative 2y. That gives us a positive 6. This gives us a positive 2z. We don't need to write the positive. And this gives us a positive 4. Much easier. I like those problems. Okay, last thing is the summary. So, how do you divide real numbers? So we talked about decimals, or I'm sorry, we talked about fractions quite a bit, integers, whole numbers, a decent bit, and decimals just a little bit. So what do you know about dividing real numbers? Put down your thoughts. Go ahead, pause the video, do it now, and I'll do the same. Okay, here's what I came up with. I said to divide real numbers, if the signs are the same, you get a positive answer. If the signs are different, you get a negative answer. To divide fractions, you take the reciprocal of the second number, then multiply straight across. Finally, you simplify the fraction if you can. So those are my thoughts on how you divide our numbers. And homework comes from page 106, numbers 3 through 45, multiples of 3, and then number 53. This has been lesson 2.6. Thank you for watching.